It is time for your favorite Android podcast from the crew of blindandroidusers.com. Kick back and enjoy another fine episode from these Google fanboys as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 26th episode of the Blind Android Users podcast. This episode is being recorded on the 5th of June. And today we have got a very big team and a very big show lineup. So in the team, we have, let's start with ladies first. We have Carrie from Live Accessible.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for having me again.
Then we have Mariam, our podcast regular team.
Hello.
That is from the ladies' side. Then from the men's side, we have got Hendrik from South Africa, who will be talking about his app later on.
Hello.
And we have got Pete from the UK.
Hey everyone, great to be here.
And last but not the least, we have got Yannick.
Hi everyone, nice to be here too.
And we cannot forget our ship captain, that is Warren.
Hola, amigos y amigas. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Captain.
Hi, yeah.
Hi, Captain.
Aye, Captain.
Well, thank you so much, Austin. We appreciate you, man.
So how is everyone doing today?
It sounds to me like everyone is happy. I think all the celebration that's carried on from our last week's episode is kind of reverberating still through and through. And I'm glad to see that we are back again in that same spirit, even though Carrie, for some reason, didn't join us, and she'll have to confess her sins later on.
Again?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I actually forgot about it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you see, that's what I mean. But you're forgiven. Oh, thank you so much, Carrie. And so we're talking about low vision today, and hence the reason, though, we really want Carrie to be on here, because Carrie is a great low vision user, and so also is our friend Pete from the UK. And so we will have these guys helping us navigate these waters as Austin, Mariam, Yannick, and myself, and Hendrik. We are really not low vision users, are we, guys?
Nope, not for me.
Not at all. But a colleague of mine is actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm actually totally blind since birth, so I've never actually experienced that.
Austin, are you a low vision user?
No, I'm not.
Okay, because I'm like, well, that would be something that he was hiding away from me, and maybe only letting the girls know, but not me. I don't know. You never can tell with guys. You know, guys can be funny like that. Austin, do we have any announcements?
We don't have any announcements this week, but we have some statistics. So within 160 days of our podcast starting, exactly 160 days, today's the 160th day, we are exactly at 9,000 plays. And that is only the audio podcast. I have not even taken a look at YouTube views, so I don't know how much is that, but we're at 9,000 plays. So everyone, thanks for listening and share the podcast. Our UK listeners, I would like to thank them because US is at the top, 45%, and UK has increased a lot to 19%. So keep the trend up and please share the podcast with your friends. But I'm a little disappointed with the Indian listeners because our Telegram group, mailing group, and everything else has a large subscriber, but India is only at 7%. So we need to increase, everyone. We need to really do something and be in the top. So that is the announcements this week.
And I do want to say congratulations on the YouTube channel. I saw that you guys are already at 182 subscribers, and it hasn't been that long since you started the YouTube channel.
Yeah, the YouTube channel has only started since about, I don't even think 2 months.
Yeah, so
Maybe
that's
40
actually really
days.
good.
Maybe 40 days. Yeah.
I don't think I gained 182 subscribers in that short of time when I started my YouTube channel. So good job, guys.
So that is why I
Thanks.
request everyone to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and not only subscribe, but hit the notification, because for those of you who have hit the notification, you must have seen there is a lot of extra content on the channel. This content may not fit on the podcast, or even if it fits on the podcast, it will fit at a later date. So that's why it is very important to click that notification so that you don't miss out on any extra content.
Thank you so much, Austin. Appreciate that. It's phenomenal seeing where we're going. And like you guys said, though, thanks to you guys who have made us what we are. And we really appreciate what you guys are doing. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please make sure you do, so that you will be hearing our knuckleheads on there and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So that is it from the announcements section. And for this week, now we will move to the next section, which is aimed at our low vision listeners. Even the totally visually challenged people can listen and gain knowledge, but it is mostly for the low vision users. And that is, what are the apps that help them, the low vision people? What are the apps that they must have in addition to our apps? And what are the problems they face while using the phone, if anything, magnification and all. So let Warren introduce the session.
Well, thank you so much, Austin. We oftentimes kind of forget that we have another group of people with disabilities on there. And it's very easy to do, to just kind of focus on oneself and not caring about others there. But I'm so thankful that we have Carrie and Pete who are going to be talking about this low vision usage. And it's a very important thing, because if one has some usable sight and could use something like this, maybe they are not familiar that there are these options out there that will help them on their Android devices. And for that reason, we're so thankful that we have these guys here to talk about that. And then I think that in our app of the week, we'll also be talking about Hendrik's app, which he's going to be talking to us about. It's called the Uno barcode reader. And that will be in our app of the week segment. I think I'll do a little demonstration on that. And then there would be in the My Android Journey segment, I think Hendrik is also going to tell us a little bit about his Android journey when he got started and all of that. I know he was going to talk about it last week during the celebration, but I told him, hey, hold it off so you could tell us that story today. So I think Hendrik will be telling us that Android journey story today. And then in our Android Basics segment, what do we have there? This will be our low vision. And so if you are looking for what is our Android Basics segment this week, that is our low vision. And so with that, Carrie and Pete, I'll turn this thing over to you guys, and either one of you can go and talk about it, and you guys collaborate between the two of you, see what you see that is similar or what is different for you or whatever, and what advice you could give to our low vision users to help them along with their journeys on Android.
We also have my favorite segment of the podcast. That is the 5th episode of the CSR screen
yes.
reader.
I have a little question for Pete and Carrie. It's because you're low vision users. I've never experienced that. So actually, when you get the phone for the first time, are there any things that you use as a low vision user so you can just use the phone? Are there any resources that you use without needing to install any applications? What stuff are in the Android phone actually primarily without you needing to install anything that can help you as a low vision user?
So with Android, at least especially for the latest updates, I would definitely suggest looking at the accessibility settings first of all, because there are actually quite a few things in that you can change. First is font size. Everybody knows about font size. You can increase the font size. However, not everybody knows about display size, and that just changes the scaling of your phone and how apps appear on your phone. So even if you have the highest font size, if you increase the display size, it'll still make everything, not just the font, but all the buttons, all everything on the screen bigger. Basically the layout of the entire phone will be bigger. So that's what I would start with. And then there's also magnification, which is what I use a lot. Probably 70% of the time I use magnification. And so there's a couple ways of accessing magnification. So there is the tried and true way, which is the triple tap with one finger. And these are all options you can change. And so you would triple tap on the screen and it would increase, or it's like a Windows Magnifier or Zoom Text or any screen magnification software that you've probably have tried if you are low vision. And it just basically lets you see part of the screen and at a very magnified level. And you can use two fingers to move around the screen. And so that would be panning around the screen. And then if you wanted to, you can triple tap again with one finger and it will zoom you out. Now there's other ways to do that too. Like if you triple tap and hold with one finger, and then if you keep your finger on the screen, this is kind of like a one-handed mode so that you can drag your finger around the screen and it'll follow your finger without having to, use two fingers to pan around the screen. And once you let go, it zooms back out. So that's kind of a temporary way to magnify your screen. You also have other ways of doing that with the accessibility gesture, which is a two-finger swipe up from the bottom of the screen if you have that enabled, or if you have the navigation bar, there's like a little accessibility button at usually it's at the bottom right. Some manufacturers, I think they put it on the bottom left for some reason. But for the most part, it's usually at the bottom right. And so you would tap or do the gesture, and then you would tap again on the part of the screen where you want to magnify, and then it would magnify on that spot. Pete, like what kind of accessibility features do you use?
Well, actually, Carrie, they're the main features that I would use. So these are come baked into the operating system, don't they? So without having to install any special apps or any third-party apps. Also, I like to set the system theme to a dark theme.
Oh, yes.
And that's kind of a personal thing, isn't it? Some people prefer a dark theme. Some people prefer other, and there's other themes available as well. And a lot of the modern apps these days that all have their own themes, they will look to see what the system theme is and automatically change their theme to match what you have for the system theme. So that's good.
What's frustrating about that is that sometimes apps don't support dark theme if you do like that light text on a dark background. And then some apps support it like partially. So like some of the screens will be dark theme, and then some of the screens will be like a light theme. And then there's also another feature called invert colors. So it just basically changes whatever is on the screen to the opposite color. So if it was black on white, it'll change it to white on black. And so that's something that I use to get around those apps that, are either partially dark theme or just don't have a dark theme at all.
That's a great point, actually. It's something I don't often use myself, the color invert, but it's you can have it on a shortcut as well, I think, can't you? So if there is an app that's very bright and it's uncomfortable to look at, just hit the invert and then it swaps everything over. It's like a smart invert feature. But some of the apps, when you have the font size set high and display size, some of the apps don't lay out text very well. So you can find that looking at the text, like the bottom part of the text might be cut off, or the end of the word might be cut off. And doesn't happen as often as these days as it used to. It used to be like a really common problem.
That's very true. And before, it used to, even like if you had it to the full sizes, sometimes it would smush the two lines together, and it doesn't really do that anymore. Android has gotten much better with that. Yeah.
But that's where also I think the app developers kind of need to be aware that people use different font sizes. And occasionally when I come across an app that doesn't obey length or have good layout for large font sizes, I just go into the contact us in whatever details they've provided in the Play Store and send them an email. And developers are so good these days. They're like, they haven't realized, and very often they'll change it really quickly and put out an update. And they're just pleased to, be made aware that their app wasn't working so well. So, it's quite a positive experience. They turn things around really quickly.
Now, do you guys think that maybe that improvement that you guys are talking about is as a result of our phone screen sizes, or is it due to the improvement of the screen technology in general? Which of the two do you think probably has the most contribution to doing with making things look better for you guys?
I think generally awareness has been raised around the development community to make sure that it's important to make sure that apps and websites are written to be accessible. A lot of developers are more aware of that, and there's lots of events these days to raise awareness. So I think definitely improvements in the Android operating system, when they brought in font size changes a few years ago, and then a couple of years back, I can't quite remember, when they brought in display size, so you could make the display size larger. That really made a big difference. That was like a big help. And then you kind of have to use the magnification less often, because you've got the large font size and large display size baked in. Funnily enough, that the higher resolution that screens become, quite often that means the default text size just gets smaller and smaller, because the screen is so sharp and precise, and like 4K super high resolution. So and this happened with PC screens as well, that when graphics cards got higher and higher resolution, actually the text on the screen just gets smaller and smaller. So straight away you're having to increase the magnification size or the font size.
Well, what's good, like you mentioned, is that we do have the scaling options with the display size, and especially with Windows. I remember getting a new laptop like that, and at least what's really good is that Windows actually got on board with scaling, and still not everything works perfectly with scaling, whether it's on Android or Windows, but it's definitely gotten better. And when it comes to screens, I would definitely say that like the improvements that they have made to screens have made a bigger impact than something like resolution. I think, like, just if you imagine back when there were, what is it called, CRT or something screens, and all of that, and LCD screens, and just things with backlights, they just aren't as good as something like OLED, which is has so much more contrast, and which is really helpful for somebody with low vision.
Yeah, that's a great point, because blacks are nice and black, colors are more vibrant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just makes everything pop more and easier to see.
Now, I got a question for you guys, and then Mariam, you can, and this is probably also building up on the question that Mariam had earlier on. Now, so as a blind person, no, as a low vision user, I should say, you got a new phone and you turn it on, of course, so you're going to enable that accessibility, just like those of us who don't use screen magnification or are not low vision users. And so you definitely would have to turn on that accessibility, because the screen reader is part and parcel of that low vision use as well. So when you do that, then where do you go from here? Is there, I know on my phone, there's accessibility, whatever in there when you turn it on, when you turn on that accessibility, so that one could choose whether you want to do a low vision use, right? Is that the experience for you guys? Or you don't turn on the speech part at all?
I don't really use speech that often. I find magnification works best for me. It's like a super personal thing, isn't it? Because everybody's vision is different, especially in the area of low vision. But sometimes if there's a lot of text to use, I'll use speech then, but maybe using something like Read Aloud or Immersive Reader in the Microsoft products. I tend to use that sort of speech, kind of the in-app speech, as opposed to the talkback mechanism. But
what I'm saying though, so you got a new phone, and when you got this new phone, how do you go about enabling that low vision use without bringing up speech?
So personally, I actually turn talkback on because I have to look at my screen quite close. It messes with the light sensor, and because they automatically turn on adaptive brightness or auto brightness when I put my face closer to the phone, it just dims the screen, and then I'm like, oh, come on. So I actually end up turning talkback just enough for me to turn on magnification, and then I turn it off. And then from there, I'll go ahead and set up the rest of the phone. But that's one frustrating thing. There's a shortcut to turn on talkback, but there's no shortcut like for somebody with low vision who wants to turn on magnification or wants to turn off the auto brightness. Like when I was setting up my Pixel 4a 5G, there was no button that I could check or uncheck to turn off adaptive brightness. And that was really frustrating for me. I had to set up the whole phone first, and then I could finally turn off adaptive brightness.
So in other words, it's like what I was saying, there's no way for you guys to, from the get-go, turn on all that low vision use without actually enabling everything, including talkback first.
You can, if you can see the screen.
Oh, okay. So there's actually a place on there that says, turn on, maybe magnification without bringing up
yes,
the accessibility. You know what I'm talking about. So I bring up my phone, and for me, I hold down those two volume keys to turn on accessibility, which would actually turn on the screen reader. Now, so for a low vision user, what gesture do they use in turning on that low vision use? Or is it automatic to where when you're on the setup screen, there's a button there that says, hey, if you're a low vision user, tap this button to enable that low vision use?
There's a button that says accessibility settings, and then you can pick the settings that you want to enable.
Makes sense.
So actually, there's an advantage in Samsung phones that the services, you could just tell the phone or something like that you want to turn magnification on with a shortcut, same as talkback. I actually have just checked that it works, and I think that doesn't exist with most phones that I've seen other than Samsung phones, which is great for low vision users, I guess.
Yeah. Because I think that what happens when we turn on our accessibility as screen reader users, we find that button that says, accessibility settings. So in other words, that button is there all the time. When you boot up the phone for the first time and all of that, it's just that because we don't see it as screen users, the only time that it becomes visible to us is when we have our talkback or screen reader going on. And so that totally makes sense from the explanation that you've made, Carrie. And, Mariam, I think what you are saying, Samsung has a lot of good stuff going on that sometimes we don't give it enough credit for. And for them to have that, I think that's a great feature.
Yeah, it is. So, my question is actually to you both, Pete and Carrie, as low vision users. So between all the operating systems that we have now, like I know we're talking about Android here, but just because you, Carrie, talked about Windows, and also Android as well. So between all the operating systems that we have at the moment, do you think, which one of them is actually the best in low vision use for?
Oh, that's such a great question. Well, I used I for the last few years I was starting to use Linux more and more because I'm kind of have a technical background, and at the moment I'm going to university studying computer science. So Linux was kind of like the way to go. Some computer people think you've got to work with Linux, and it's got great benefits. The what I would say when it comes to accessibility, Linux is okay for magnification, but when it comes to screen readers, there's one called Orca, but like the quality of the voice is so poor, and it's like kind of like a very basic screen reader. I need to be careful because I'm not a screen reader user myself, but over the last 2 or 3 years, I've found that Microsoft have made so many improvements to Windows 10 magnification, but also in their products, things like Microsoft Edge and in Office, that I found that very often when I go to a computer, I'll boot it up into Windows rather than Linux. So I'm finding Windows 10 is kind of at the moment like my go-to operating system. I don't know what you use, Carrie.
So I definitely tend to go with Windows if it's PC side, and then Android when it's mobile side. It's difficult to compare like Windows and Android because they're used for such different things. I find that, if I actually want to get a lot of work done or things like that, and I want to be more productive, I definitely like having a keyboard much better. And, Android, my phone is more for, I don't know, social media, taking pictures. I don't know, like smaller things that aren't as in depth as something you would do on a computer. And it's also something that you can carry around, whereas like a computer, I think might have a lot more accessibility features with Windows Magnifier, and like you can change the scaling a lot more. There's much more customizability, and the screen readers on a Windows is definitely probably going to be better than any screen reader, whatever screen reader it is on mobile. And it's could be more efficient, but at the same time, I'm not going to carry around a computer everywhere I go. So I think they're both really good and for their own purposes.
Yeah, I would like to agree with you guys, because I think that when we talk about that productivity, and I don't care who you are, there's nothing like having a computer. Is easier to manipulate things, and most especially you have that real huge screen real estate for low vision user. You could see a whole lot more on there that you could ever on a little screen. So that totally makes sense. When it comes to me doing something like, hey, I'm writing like a presentation or doing something like that, I'm not going to be going for my mobile. I'll be going to my laptop to do such a thing. So definitely it makes sense to me that would probably be giving you guys more of a good, better place to work with than it would be on a mobile device.
And I've found recently, for years, like when I was at work, there was I was given a PC with some software called Supernova on it, and then also, which is like a third-party app. And then also I've used Zoom Text, and these are apps that like magnify the screen, and they'll smooth the font, because the more you magnify them, sometimes you kind of like start to see the jagged edges on the fonts. But in recent years, the built-in magnifier, Windows Magnifier, has got so good that I tend not to use those third-party products, because I know that when I go to any PC, like at work or like at university or something like that, that the built-in features are always going to be there. So I'd rather use those because I know they're going to be there, and I know how to use them.
Yes, I definitely agree with you, Pete. I used to use Zoom Text 100% of the time, but just with all the recent updates with Windows Magnifier, there are still a few things that I miss with Zoom Text. Like, we have on Windows, invert colors, and I do miss invert brightness, which keeps the colors the same, but just reverses how bright things are. So I kind of miss that. But at the same time, Zoom Text and Supernova were just so intensive on the system, and it would just bog everything down. And, a lot of the time, it's just so much smoother to use something built into the system, and it's just a lot lighter.
Yeah, absolutely. Those apps that you mentioned, the Supernova and the Zoom Text, they were like really intrusive, going deep down into Windows.
Yes.
And sometimes it'd be quite difficult to install. But then if you're on a Windows update a few months down the line, then they might break, or the whole computer might.
And then you have to buy the new license because they don't support the new Windows.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So for me, though, I would say that I am a hybrid user because I use magnification, but a lot of the time I do, start JAWS or NVDA. I'm still not very good at it, but I can use it because, a lot of the time, for me, it is just a lot of eye strain. And I do encourage, people who are low vision, if you're looking so much on your screen and it's just a struggle, and if you're magnifying so much that you can only see a tiny bit of your screen, I still suggest that you try at least a screen reader and, use both of them if you want to, but it definitely helps with efficiency.
Yeah. So we actually have talked about the basic things that you just turn on once you get the phone. But what are the applications that are in your priority list when you get phone? You just, okay, this is the first application that I'm gonna install as a low vision user because it's really important, on Android.
Well, I used to have a desktop magnifier here at home and then also at work, which was a separate piece of hardware and like super heavy and expensive, like $2,000 or $3,000. And in recent years, I found I barely ever switch it on because there's so many apps now available on Android. Things like Google Lookup, where they'll scan a document for you and then read it back to you. And the one I'm using at the moment, I've got quite a few installed on my phone, but quite like one I think it's called Microsoft Lens PDF Scanner. And basically it's a document scanning app. Well, it'll kind of like read, it's got like casual mode where it'll read just text. You can point it at anything that's got text on it. It'll recognize the text and read it out to you. But also it's quite good as an actual document scanner. So if you get a letter through the post or some kind of other document or a magazine, and you're not going to be able to read it without putting it either using a very strong magnifying glass or something like that, then you can just take your phone out. You can scan the pages. It's really easy just to scan multiple pages. And then it will save it to the cloud. It will convert it to a Word document or a PDF, and then which you can then look on the computer, or you can get it to read it back to you on the phone using Read Aloud or Immersive Reader, or you could use TalkBack. So I find, Microsoft Lens I find quite good, but I don't know if an unsighted person would find that an accessible app, because I don't think it kind of guides you to move your phone to make sure that you're covering the document. I've not found any features like that, but as a low vision user, I find it like a really nice usable app. So that's one of my go-to apps I use.
My top app that I use is actually something called WeZoom. And so this is basically a magnification app. So it turns the back camera of your phone into a digital magnifier, like a CCTV or video magnifier. There's a lot of names for it, but basically it uses the back camera and then you can zoom in, and it's, before they started making magnification apps or magnifier apps, I used to use a camera and just point it at things and then zoom in, and then maybe I'll even triple tap if I need to be able to see something in the distance. But the problem with using a camera app is that it is meant to take pictures, and what that means is the autofocus is always changing, especially if you're moving and especially if you're trying to read a piece of paper. You're going back and forth on the lines, and it just keeps blurring and then focusing. Even now with the autofocus as they are, it still does that because it wants to get like the perfect focus for you to snap a picture, not for you to move around. And so with rezoom, it's one of the best things that have happened in my Android life. I will say that. It's a very simple interface, and it's actually pretty accessible with TalkBack. So you could use it at the same time if you use both. And it has a flashlight. It has different color themes, so you can use the white on black or black on white or yellow on black or black on yellow, or sometimes people like the yellow on blue or blue on yellow, and there's quite a few different color filters. And basically, if you've ever tried something that is a separate product as a video magnifier, whether it's something like the Ruby, anything from Enhanced Vision or Freedom Scientific, or any of the $500 to $1,000+ dollar devices,
maybe even $2,000.
Yeah. I'm talking about the handheld ones. It'll have pretty much the same functionality, and even better, you can turn off autofocus, you can turn it on or off, and you just tap to focus. If you are in manual focus, you can change the brightness, you can change the contrast.
So, Carrie, does that mean that it works in real time? Like, you just move it around and it zooms everything?
Exactly.
Okay.
But it's just amazing, isn't it, how the technology has changed from having dedicated hardware that takes up half of your desk and is so heavy to try and pick up and move into a different room, to now be able to use a smartphone. And very often these apps are free, or maybe there's just a small charge to, like a one-off fee just to pay for the pro features or something like that. But and then you can keep the phone with you whenever you go. You can be, maybe it's to if you're in the supermarket and you want to look at the ingredients on a particular product, or sometimes just to see the price. You're going along the looking at the shelves in the supermarket, and you're trying to see the price of different products. And sometimes you can get close, and if you've got a magnifying glass in your pocket, you can see the price. But then if it's like an item that's down on the bottom shelf, you just can't get to it, but you can sort of hold your phone down close to it and then use an app like the one Carrie mentioned, and just like take a snap and it'll bring it up and it'll use your color scheme. It's so useful.
Exactly.
That is. I always find it hard to carry a certain device, an additional device, which is most of the time pretty huge, just for magnification or even for other purposes. For me as a totally blind person. So yeah, it's an amazing thing to find out.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Pete, because working with students, most especially some of the girls don't want to be carrying stuff like that. They're kind of embarrassed by it. And so with the introduction of the mobile capabilities, this has changed that behavior, because it's just your normal phone. There's nothing to be shy of. And you just pull up your phone and use that different magnification apps. And I think that has changed the landscape some. And it's a beautiful thing to see that we have these technologies right in our pockets. So you're not carrying a huge monitor, putting it on your desk and hooking it up to this cam and all of that. It's just, I tell you. And I've seen that kids have just flourished from that. And they really love using their phone. And, teachers allow them, hey, you can just use it because that's a tool, rather than, purchasing these things with the school district, buying it from whoever and all of that. So,
and if you have a selfie stick as well, like some people like to have a selfie stick for taking selfies and things when they're out, but that can be useful as well in the supermarket, because like I say, if it's like a product that's way down and you're trying to, let's say you're looking for, I don't know, a particular kind of soup, and they all look very similar. But, you know, if your phone is on a selfie stick and you can just sort of point it down, you can sort of see, you know, which is which. I got to say, it's not something to do very often, but it's an option, isn't it? It's
yes.
But, you know, the thing about being embarrassed about using assistive technology, and I've been there, like almost all my life, I've been super embarrassed. But the thing is, we kind of need to turn it around and own it and not be embarrassed, don't we? Like
yeah,
I still,
exactly.
Yeah, I still carry magnifying glasses with me because sometimes it's just quick and easy to use rather than, say, using an app on the phone. And I used to be so embarrassed about it, like using it in public. And these days, I buy like stickers, transfers, things like that off eBay, all kinds of crazy stickers, stick them all over the handle of my magnifying glass. And when I take it out, it's almost like I'm showing it off. I'm saying like, hey, look, I've got this. You should be jealous because I've got one of these and you don't.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, these young girls that, you know, kind of tend to be kind of embarrassed by things like that. And, you know, kids, we're talking about, you know, kids in either elementary school or middle school and even high school, you know, you find these girls kind of feeling embarrassed about that. And I kind of like a tech guy, you know, teaching them technology. I kind of feel guilty and, you know, making them take these things. And a lot of times I say, okay, I'll take this thing for you, you know, that kind of thing. But then, you know, when the phones came in and we have the ability to use that attitude changed real quick.
Because I mean, when I was young, I used to be kind of embarrassed of my white cane, and then I'm like, okay, no, I can't. I just can't be like that.
I can definitely relate, Mariam. I can definitely relate to that. And but it's just nice not having to carry so many things, you know. Everybody has their phone, and it's just, you know, it's already built in, and you have all these tools right on your phone, and you don't need to have a separate device. And Pete, like to what you were saying about using still carrying around a magnifying glass. So for me personally, magnifying glasses don't work. But so, you know, it's kind of annoying to have to like launch an app or like use Google Assistant to launch it or something. So actually what I do, I use something called Button Mapper, and I'm sure some of you have used it or something like that. But I have set it so that if I just press and hold the volume up button, it'll just open WeZoom. And so that's how I kind of get around to doing it faster and opening it faster. Because sometimes I use it to see, okay, where did my son go? So I have to be able to open that thing pretty quickly. So I just unlock the phone and then press and hold that, and it launches it right away, which is just really helpful.
Yeah. This has been so great, guys. Thank you for this wonderful segment on magnification, low vision users, which is our focus today, really. And, you know, if you guys have any closing remarks about this segment before we move on to the next segment, that would be great.
I have at least one question for Carrie and Pete, which is a kind of, I like to ask some strange questions, and mine is this. I think you guys tried the other side of the moon, I could say, meaning Apple devices. And I don't want to go into a kind of very large debate regarding what is the better, but could you tell us if there are some main differences between Apple magnification system, Apple Zoom, and Android magnification? Is there one which may be better for someone who didn't have any phone yet, for example? Or did you have such an experience regarding this?
Well, I used an iPhone last year for about 6 months because all the time, the podcast, it was kind of before I discovered this podcast. And I thought, oh, you've got to go for iPhone if you've got a visual impairment, because there's so many accessibility features. So I used the magnification built into it. And it's kind of similar to, slightly different, but similar with Android. And I'm not sure there's a huge difference that I found, but the big difference that I found is when I set the font size to the large font size, I found that actually far fewer third-party apps respected the font size setting. So I would go into, some quite mainstream, big popular apps, and the font size was still kind of, tiny because it hadn't picked up my system setting. And I was amazed actually that so after 6 months, I kind of gave up. It was so difficult to use. Went back to Android, sold my iPhone on eBay, went back to Android, and just as soon as I enabled the large font size and then started installing the third-party apps, I just found so many of them, respected the setting that I had in my system settings and just displayed fonts in those large fonts. So for me, as a low vision user, using magnification and not so much speech, Android was a much better experience. That was my personal experience.
So I agree with Pete. With iPhone, you have a larger variety of font sizes, and you can definitely go much higher than you can on Android. But like Pete said, it's just not super widely supported by third-party apps. And so with Android, you might not be able to go as large, but more apps will support that kind of font sizing. And with Android also, there are other apps, like there's one called Big Font, where it'll actually change all your system fonts and increase it even larger than what's, in the accessibility settings. Now, there are some drawbacks to that because, you're going to get a lot less on the screen, and it might cut off words here and there. But it actually does pretty well, especially on Android 11 and 12. And so you could go that route if you really didn't want to use something like Magnifier. And, I have used that. I kind of go back and forth. But the thing and I have made a video about this, with iPhone, before at least, they used to have screens that were not OLED. And with the magnification, or what they call zoom, there was no one-handed function except with the zoom controller, which I had a lot of trouble with. And you just required a lot more fingers when it comes to the gestures, which I was not a fan of. Let's just put it that way. When it comes to any other remarks on just low vision in general, I would also recommend people check out different launchers. So if you have something like the Pixel launcher, they have different options for how many icons you want on the home screen, whether it's 5x5, 4x4, 3x3, or even 2x2. And a lot of different launchers have that, like Nova launcher. And those are the two that I've tried. So I'm sure that, there are others out there that will allow you to do that. Oh, and Big Launcher as well, which is just a simpler way of using your phone, whether you're low vision or a senior. And one really cool thing about Big Launcher is that there's an option in there that you can press and hold on icons or anything, basically, and it will read it out to you. So it's you don't have to turn on talkback, but it still has that little bit of text to speech in case somebody would need that. And I think that's pretty much it for low vision that I can think of, unless anybody else has any more questions.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I think this has been great. And how about now we transition to our next? And how about we bring in our guest of the week, and that will be Hendrik from South Africa. Hendrik's going to be talking about an app that he wrote, and then I'll be demonstrating that app later. Hendrik, do you want to talk to us about this app?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, Maran and everybody. Yeah, see the Uno barcode reader that I wrote, I found that Android has a lot of apps in that, but some of the apps do not have the features that I wanted. And I'm very impatient sometimes, so I decided to write my own ones that I can do with and put in the features I need. There is still a lot of work on it, but at this stage, I'll most probably release it only 1st August on Google Play Store for feedback on what is needed, what is wanted, any suggestions, like Warren mentioned now also to me earlier. When you do the scanning, it picks up the barcode, but it doesn't give you immediately a product name. That is why at the moment you have to look it up on the web, or you have to know what you have in your hand so you can type it in and save it to your phone. And then when you do it again, then it will tell you which product it is. I'm still looking for a good barcode lookup program to do that with. The other thing was with the generating of barcodes itself for using on your own products and that. Like my sister also told me, she's got like 10 different tubs of that looks the same and feels the same. But then you put the stuff in the deep freeze or in the fridge, and after a week, you can't remember what is in which one. Now, I've got at this stage, I only got 4 PDF templates on there for different sizes of barcodes. I still want to improve that also. But what I experienced was that if you print a barcode, I want to be able to print anywhere on the sheet, because sometimes some of the labels are damaged. Like, say, for instance, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top, but somebody pulled off number 3. Now you don't want to waste everything, so you can choose now. You want to print on number 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, and 5. So, or you can say you want to do 7 of the same label or what. There's still a lot of improvement coming, but yeah, at this stage it is working for me, and I will be looking for suggestions and people to test it.
So Hendrik, tell us, take us back. You've told us as to why you decided to write this. Now, also, we understand from our earlier conversation, that you are also a blind person like us. Now, what were some of your challenges, writing this? Because this is not your main work. You have a work that you do, your 9-to-5 job, and then this is like something you do on the side, just like a pleasure kind of thing. How difficult is it for you as a blind person to write a program, and what would your advice be to, upcoming aspiring young blind people that would like to get into programming and be able to write apps and things like that?
My biggest thing was because I'm self-taught. I didn't do any courses or anything. So I had to look up everything on the internet and decide on which language to start with. I started with C++, but yeah, that is a bit of a difficult language. And then I went over to Java, but then I wanted to program for machine learning also. So then I found Python. So I did a lot of Python because I do a lot of TensorFlow with Python. Then I use my Windows 10 machine for that with the WSL, the Linux subsystem that I can open in my command prompt. Then it's accessible for me. The biggest problem I sit with is a lot of stuff on the internet that you learn of is not accessible for blind people. They put in like a graphic there with code on, for example.
Yeah.
Then you can't read what's on that graphic. So you must try and figure it out, or go and find another place where you can get the same information. Same with the YouTube videos and things like that, that they do explain a lot of stuff excellent, but they just start typing. They don't say what they're typing, and there's no manuscript. So Yeah, you have to try and figure out what they're doing, or go find a manuscript in that area and try and figure it out. What I would say to anybody that wants to start programming, doesn't matter if it's for the computer or for a phone or whatever. You must decide which language you want to do. Like I use Flutter and Dart. It's not so difficult, easy compilable, and runs excellent on Android. I haven't tried it on iOS because I'm not an iOS user. But don't go and study now for 5 years and think you're going to know everything. The problem is there's so many plugins and things. Just get to know your basics, your variables, your for loops, your imports and things like that. Everything else will come. Decide what project you want to do and then learn those plugins you want to use, because you won't be able to learn all of the plugins available out there. Learn what you want to do and start doing it, and then learn and read the documentation of the stuff you are going to use. You're going to do much quicker and get much further.
I have a question for you, Hendrik. Oh, sorry, Warren. Maybe you had another one?
No.
I have a question for you, which is when trying to develop and when developing applications, and I as I am a developer myself, I was confronted to that situation. There is always somehow when you are you have to write some kind of graphical interfaces, and how does that process went for you when you created your applications regarding the creation of the user interface to make sure that every element is properly placed on the screen and there is no overlapping and such things? Can you share with us some ideas about that?
No, that's excellent. That's why that is why I actually use Flutter and Dart, because if you want something to overlap, you have to write code for it, because everything is they say everything is a widget. So to get the perfect graphical user interface, there I lay out the way I want it. And then I will ask somebody afterwards, how does it look? But because I use speech, I can hear where all my widgets are on the screen itself, where my buttons is, the containers for my cameras, or at the app bar at the top. I can lay out everything. I don't have to go and say I want it 3 millimeters or 4 pixels. I can do that, but it's not necessary. When you use the widgets and the material widgets, then it places it automatically for you where you want it. And if you need to move it, because I need to get sighted people just to look at the layout and the coloring and things like that. After they said, no, this doesn't look good here, maybe move it a bit there, then I can just refactor that specific part and maybe move it there. There I need sighted help, unfortunately. But most of your widget you can lay out the way you want it without having coordinates.
That's very interesting, actually, because it somehow when you are talking about development and application development, and especially mobile application development, there is always this kind of user interface in the process, and it's kind in the path, and it's not that easy to figure out how to place things and how to arrange widgets and so on. So of course we won't go into much detail regarding software development, although it can be a good next in focus section for another episode. But still, that's very good to know, and I will be very delighted to if you can point me some resources to start on developing on Android.
Well, personally, I looked at React Native. I looked at JavaScript. Those ones also, but they all were building switches and bridges that slow down and can bottleneck. What I again found with Flutter, it doesn't build the bridges in that. It uses a lot of your hardware, your native code itself, because a lot of the stuff with Gradle and that, it converts it to Java. So
okay, nice.
If I were you, I would go to or Dart itself, but Flutter development. They've got nice stuff on there, and you will see if you know. It's basically if you know C number or one of those languages.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that. So you'll pick it up very, very quickly if you know your, like I say, your basics, your variables, your formulas, and everything like that. Then you'll pick it up like nothing, and you'll see there's so many plugins to do with. It's unbelievable. Like Google ML Kit has now also come as a standalone one that I'm doing with text detection and things like that. So your plugins is massively, and they're developing every like 3 months. There's a new one out on the upgrades of your Flutter itself. So yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
Thanks a lot for these resources.
Yeah.
Wow. I always find the programming really interesting. I really want to get started with it, but I still haven't found the right place. But I mean, you obviously gave me an inspiration to get started, so thank you so much for that. And I have a question for you. I was always wondering how you actually upload an app to the Play Store. How you get it just ready, and then what steps do you take to upload a certain app to the Play Store and just put it in there for people to install?
Yeah, that is the one thing I am self-working on, because this will be my first one. I'm first getting in South Africa, converting to rand, from dollars to rand is a bit more. So that's why I'm only releasing beginning August, because you have to first open a development account, and then you can upload from there. So you have to break it with Flutter. I'm not sure with the others. Flutter, you break it down into bundles for different platforms of your Android, like your 7, 8, 9, your 64-bit and those things. And then you have to upload it on there. You can first send out links to people to test it, or you can, but you always have to change your version number. But it doesn't look too difficult. I tried F-Droid, but yeah, that is not for me. So yeah, I decided not to go to Google Play Store, because that is the one everybody knows in anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So what people do is, while developing the apps or while developing ROMs, they test it on emulators, not phones. And these emulators, they mostly don't have talkback, or they don't have any way to enable talkback. So did you use any emulators for testing, or directly on the phone?
I can use emulators. There is actually on Android Studio, they've got a few nice ones, but because I use the camera with all my programs, I have to develop on my phone itself. So yeah, I have to reboot it a lot to get some of the stuff out of it. But the emulators I can actually use, but then I just need somebody to activate the talkback for me on the emulator itself. Then I can use it for other development. So there is some emulators out there that is accessible, but because mine all use camera, because most of my stuff I'm going to do is machine learning, I use the camera itself, and that doesn't work on the emulator.
Yeah, as long as you are using some specialized phone hardware like a neural engine or a camera or sensors, it's always difficult to use emulators to simulate things. You can in some ways, but it's very limited, and often it kind of doesn't work at all. So, well, to my experience.
That is the truth.
Well, good. Thank you so much. Hendrik, we'll be coming back to you to give us a little bit of your Android journey story. At this point, we move on to that CSR, which is Mariam's favorite. And Mariam is bringing us another episode of the CSR.
Commentary screen reader, or the Chinese screen reader, has gotten really popular among blinds and visually impaired recently. And here, on the Blind Android Users podcast, we will have a series of episodes in which we will talk about how to use the screen reader and how to get the best out of it. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of CSR's Basics. In this episode, we will be talking about two different things. First thing, we will be going over some
new notification from Clubhouse.
Web browsing stuff and features that are actually, in CSR. But I just want to say that it's as easy as browsing in other web views, other UIs, or even normal screens. It's not that difficult. The other part, we'll be going over how to download additional resources from CSR servers like extensions, plugins, and sound themes, and we will be mentioning what's the difference between all of them. Our main concentration or focus today would be on sound themes, but I would definitely tell you what plugins and extensions do. And in another episode, we will be going over some really cool plugins and extensions that I think that are pretty good. Just because I don't want to make this episode long, so we won't be here talking for hours. So let's already go and see how web browsing works. So
Recent
I have already
on UI Chrome.
My browser here. I was Chrome.
Blendandroidusers.21 blendandroidusers.com text box.
I am on the podcast
New
website.
Notification from Clubhouse.
The Blind
21
Android
open
Users.
tabs. Tap to switch tabs button.
Blind Android Users website. So keep in mind that if you are not in the web view, CSR would work as you are in a normal view. Like if you scroll down,
Text box.
progress bar,
List item. Clickable element. Slider. Character.
and so on. So it's the normal rotor that you were gonna find in any screen or other area other than the web views.
Slider.
So let's
Click.
go to default.
Progress bar. Text box. Default.
And let's see what's the difference between the web view rotor and this rotor.
More options. Space. Welcome to Blind Android Users heading 1. Main menu button.
So we're standing here now in the website in the main. So let's see what we have.
Title.
We have title. This means hidden.
Link.
Button.
Edit box. Focusable element. Control. Checkbox. Combo box. Form file. List item. Scroll. View. Character. Word. Line. Paragraph. Page. Copy. Default. So let's for instance choose headings or title as it's called here and see how that's gonna work. Title. Welcome to Blind Android Users heading 1. Search our latest posts heading 2. Blind Android Users podcast heading 2. Join us on Blind Android Users Club on Clubhouse heading 2. Meet our team heading 2. Austin Pinto heading 5. Mariam Mohsen heading 5. Warren Carr heading 5. Edward Green heading 5. Yannick Plassiard heading 5. We value your feedback heading 2.
So as you can see, we have all the headings that are available on the website. And CSR is pretty responsive when it comes to that. So if you actually focus the rotor on an edit box or edit boxes, it'll just take you to the edit box in the website, which it's cool. It's amazing when it comes to that. Let's, for instance, talk about links.
Link. Thanks for joining us on this milestone episode. This episode is presented by Edward Green, Mariam RSS link. WhatsApp link. YouTube link.
So as you can tell, it also works with links. Let's see if we have any edit boxes here.
Button. Edit box. Search text box.
As you can see.
Name text box. Email text box. What do you think about the podcast? What do you think about the What do you think about the hosts? What do you think? What topics would you like to see covered in the podcast? Who would you like to see interviewed in the podcast? Other comments. Email text box.
And they're over. So it's just making this sound. So yes, this is mainly how it works. Also, if you want to copy anything, copying and pasting definitely works the same way as any other area works. Just
button, link, title.
We're focus on something.
Email text box.
It's email text box. So we just
copy. Message copied.
It's pretty easy.
Default.
Also,
new notification from Twitter.
The action menu.
Subscribe to podcast heading 2.
And it's gonna work that way as well. So it's pretty easy. There's nothing, that difficult about web browsing or anything. And we will definitely be discussing some other advanced stuff in the, some upcoming episodes. And now for the most interesting part, downloading additional resources from the cloud. Let's go to CSR settings and see how can we configure everything and set everything up before downloading anything from the cloud. So what we're gonna do is go to CSR settings. I'll open the menu.
Menu. Extensions. Voice assistant. Program settings.
So go to program settings.
G-Show Plus. G-Show. 20 million to email 9460. General settings.
So the first thing you need to do before actually downloading is sign up for an account. So you would need to go to the user center.
Advanced settings. Extensions. Plugin. Cloud notes. Accessibility. User center.
User center, yes.
User center.
So here.
Users. Sign up button.
You have sign up.
Login button.
And login. If you haven't created an account, it's technically not an account. You just fill in a username, and it's gonna take an ID. So just type in your username, and it's gonna work. So for the first time, we need to
sign up button.
Sign up and just type in your username. If you did already so, and you just reinstalled CSR or changed your phone, just
login button.
Log in and put in your username, and it's gonna work that way. As you can see here,
more options button. Username.
I've already signed up, so it's Mariam Mohsen. That's the way it works. It's pretty easy. There's no password or anything. So yeah, it works that way. And when you do that, sometimes if you have the premium version, you would get some of the things that you've already downloaded earlier, re-downloaded. It'll ask you if you want to download them again, which is amazing.
More sign user center.
So after you actually signed up or logged in or whatever, we'll go to
navigate up button. User cloud plugins and tools. Download additional resources.
Download additional resources, and it's pretty interesting here. Let's see what we have.
Downloaded.
Download it. Here it's gonna show you all the things that you've downloaded, whether it's a CSR version, because you could download the latest updates from here as well. Also, it'll show you the extensions, the plugins, some themes that you've downloaded. It's amazing.
G-Show Plus.
Here, G-Show Plus, it means that you can download the latest updates. Let's go here.
G-Show Plus. G-Show. G-Show Plus.
Oh, forgive, it's Arabic because numbers are announced in Arabic. So it's gonna just show you the version numbers and everything. You can download pretty much any version that's been uploaded if you want to get back to another one. It's not restricted.
G-Show. Download.
So if we press on one of them,
download. G-Show 20,210,207 APK size, 20.96 MB, number of downloads 180. G-Show International 20,210,000, cancel button.
It gives you both the international
new notification from Clubhouse and Dolphin, cancel button,
and the primary one, the international or the Chinese or the complete one, and you would have the possibility to download any one of them. Pretty easy. I would cancel here because I don't want to download it at the moment.
Back button.
And we would go back.
Download home button. Download G-Show Plus. Open an app.
Open an app. So these are some additional gestures and custom stuff that people have actually made for opening a certain app. Let's go in here and see what we have.
Open an app. Enter keyword text box. Enter keyword text box.
Enter keyword if you want to search a certain one of them that you know it's here already here.
And echo APK. SPK 1.51 APK. Gshow 20,200. Gshow 20 million. Gshow I 20,200. Gshow international. Gshow international. Gshow APK.
You have a lot of stuff here, actually.
Sun3. Open an app. Sun3 2.0 APK. Back button.
So yes, this is. There's not a lot of them. I thought that there was a lot, but no, it's not.
Downloaded it. Gshow. Open. Sound themes.
Sound themes. And this is amazing. Well, there are thousands of sound themes, like literally. So let's go in here and see what we have.
Sound theme. Enter keyword text box.
This little edit box for searching.
So what? Voiceover. So what? A 225 asterisk 225 asterisk 4 SPK.
Just keep in mind that there are some of them that are actually created by Chinese developers, so they won't be pronounced. Most of them.
Comma smart soon. واحد 2 4 foul by شرط على الصوت or 1234 SPK.
Scroll and see any sound theme that's in English.
Abbas Raineri ILD SPK.
Oh yes, we have a lot.
Ashna, Act 12 Raw 3rd, Accessibility 24, Acoustic Popper Tima MP3 RM Murdered, Acapodica Revolution Tima MP3, Acapodica Tima, Chuai Batista, Acapodica Tima MP3 RM Margisella SPK.
There are different languages, Spanish, Chinese, French. So let's actually go to the edit box and type, for instance, voice or over, so it's gonna get
text box
over sound themes.
A 2TN India theme by DJ 200 enter keyword text box. جارٍ اظهار لوحة default. اللغة التالية. Show C.
Let's type in voice.
K 9 P O U I C D W E voice. Enter.
And let's see.
F back sound voice text box sound themes. Voice text box editing. Delete. New line. So what? App beautiful voice Mohammed AMR SPK. Blind tech accessibility VR protosos. Blind tech accessibility. Gisela produced a new iPhone voice over Jocelyn Avila SPK.
As you can see, we have iPhone voice over.
Lazo. So what? Original voiceover sound by Samrat KC SPK.
So yes, as you can see, there are the names of the developers and everything. Also, you could have Shine Plus, Talkback, pretty much every single screen reader with some additional themes that people have created. It's amazing how this thing works.
Back button.
Let's go back and see.
English plus QWERTY keyboard hidden.
Okay, so let's download a certain sound theme and see how that could work.
Soundibus Del voiceover. Soundibus voiceover. Sun's voiceover Gisela SPK. Soundibus voiceover Inidio SPK.
Okay, I download one of them just randomly. I hope it's good. Let's download this one.
Download Soundibus voiceover. Cancel button.
It'll ask you if you want to download. Just give him.
Okay button.
Okay.
Waiting Soundibus voiceover Inidio S.
Waiting.
Import. Soundibus voiceover. Import. Sound cancel button. Import.
So
Soundibus voiceover.
It's already downloaded, but it's gonna ask you if you want to import it to the screen reader. I'll tell him.
Okay button.
Okay.
Resource successfully imported.
Resource successfully imported.
Navigate up button.
And here, CSR is gonna take you
feedback settings
automatically to the feedback settings, so you can just turn your sound theme on, which is amazing. And the earlier versions of the CSR didn't do that.
Audible feedback checkbox checked.
Well, we need to go here to
sound theme volume. Sound themes.
Sound themes.
Sound themes. Sound themes.
And also, I'll actually discuss something in a minute, which is very important as well.
Default unchecked.
So we have the default sound theme that comes with CSR.
So what? Voiceover. Apple Team Original Team unchecked.
Those are that I've downloaded before.
Apple Team Original. Verbugity Samsung unchecked. Shine Plus Team Full unchecked. Soundibus Del voiceover. Garaji Show unchecked.
This is the one that we've just downloaded.
Feedback settings. Soundibus Del voice. Manage sound themes.
It's the same as the one that I've downloaded, but there are some difference in volume.
Sound theme volume. Audible feedback. Sound themes.
Okay. Also, here you can edit and adjust your sound theme. What that means is you could change how every sound works.
Soundibus Del voiceover, Garage Show. Customize the sound theme.
Yes, you can customize the sound theme. So here you could just hit this button.
Soundibus Del voiceover, exit button. Soundibus Del voiceover, Garage. List element focus 0 log.
It's gonna give you every single thing that it does with the file that's already selected for it. So let's go to this one.
List element, none unchecked. Debug unchecked, click bug unchecked.
It goes automatically to the folder of the sound theme, and you could just choose a certain file.
Debug, none unchecked. Cancel button, scroll down, log unchecked.
What I would like to have here is a button that could browse the file manager, and you could just pick a file if you wanna, customize your the sound theme with sounds that you already have. But what I do is just go to the folder of the sound theme, which I'll talk about in a minute, and just paste every sound that I already have if I wanted to customize the sound theme, which definitely works. So after you just paste the sound that you want in the right path, you would find it here.
Back button. Back button.
Oh, this sound theme sounds cool.
Back button.
I'll probably be using it. Alright. So, yes, this is the way it works. It's amazing. You could download as much sound themes as you want. The folder that you can go to see every single download. Let's go to the file manager and see.
Back button. Home button. One UI home.
Find it.
One UI folder. Samsung. Galaxy. My files. OneDrive. Samsung. SD card. Internal storage. List. Go. Frequently. Download June 5th. Books. All. Download June. Best quotes and status. Voice record. Books. Albooks. DCIM. May. Pictures. May 18. 514.
It's most of the times a folder that's not pronounced. The name of it, the screen reader doesn't say because it's in Chinese, unfortunately.
May 5th. Documents. May 11th. May 15th. 9:06 p.m. 16 items.
As you can see, it's here. It doesn't say anything. Just announces the date of it and everything. You go to that folder.
Go to my file. Button. Sounds. Sounds June 5th, 2:36 a.m. 10 items.
You'd find sounds.
Download June 5th, 2:30 labels. Labels June 5th. Notes May 15th, 9 May 9th, 7:02 p.m. 3 items.
Pretty much everything that's in the screen reader. So
labels June 5th, 2:05 labels. Download Sounds June 5th, 2:36 a.m. 10. So what? Verbugity sound. Shine plus Teenful.
Here you would have every single sound theme in its own folder, so you can just edit what you want.
Scroll up on December 7th, 2020. Audio scroll down log.
As you can see here, there are all the files that are available. The audio files. You can just whether replace them or just paste what you want and just edit from there. It won't actually object if it's an MP3 file or an OGG file. It works both ways. So yes, these are sound themes. They're pretty easy and pretty flexible to deal with, I guess. And let's now go and see what else we can download off the server of CSR.
Recents button. One UI home. G Show Plus. Clickable element. Back button. Feedback. Vibration feedback. Check. Back button. Sound theme. Soundibus Del voiceover. Samsung original voiceover. Back button.
So as you can see, when we actually got back, it just
new notification from Clubhouse and recents button.
It took us back to the window that we were in, which is cool.
Back button.
Let's go back into this.
Download additional resources.
We are in the download additional resources main UI again.
Plugins and tools. Extensions. Prep gesture theme. Sound themes.
After sound themes, we have
gesture
themes. So you could download a certain gesture theme that someone has already created. Some people create a gesture theme completely the same as the one in TalkBack. If you want to use the same gestures, like down and left for going back, up and right for the home screen, I guess, You can just download it from here.
Per app gesture theme.
Per app gesture themes. For a certain app, there are gestures for a certain app, which is only available in the premium subscription.
Extensions.
Plugins
and tools.
Audio
tutorials.
There are audio tutorials for, some people have already created them. You could just download them from the server as well.
Download additional resources.
And it's over. So let's go to plugins and tools, and we'll find a lot of pretty cool stuff here.
Audio, plugins and tools. Plugin. Enter keyword text box.
Search.
Novel Online, Panzer Gaming and XPK. Plugins and tools. All but and Novel Online, Panzer Gaming and XP. Plugins and tools.
Oh god, I don't know why it's not showing me.
Panzer plugins and tools. Back button. Download audio to extensions.
Okay, I don't know why it's not, but let's go to extensions and see what we have here as well.
Extensions. Off mode 5 dim screen by Mad Hash and PPK. A stud writer for Yesu English Student Game. A stud writer for New Good. Amazon.ppk go to Amazon. Adder Kasaraham layer Qsys. Auto run this button. Backup settings PPK all settings backup quick. Backup settings PPK backup settle and accuses Gishuno Ingress Ruben and PP. Battery level opposite and PPK.
There's a really cool one here. It's called Skip Ad. What it does is it'll skip YouTube ads automatically. So, you just turn it on and it'll just skip when it comes to the certain timing that you can skip the ad, it'll just skip the ad automatically for you, which is amazing. But there's something that I really want to point out. If you have the free version of CSR, you need to turn the plugins and extensions back on after every 24 hours. They won't run all the time just because, it's available only in the premium subscription. The premium subscription, they run for, all the time without you needing to turn them back on or again. But in the free, after every 24 hours, they would just be turned off and you just need to turn them on again. You can do that through going to the menu.
Menu. List browsing. Read the whole screen. Voice assistant. Extensions.
Go to
program settings. Suspend voice feed. Extensions. Skip ad 3 by Dritty Better.
And just press on the certain extension that you want. There's a skip app that I was talking about.
Skip ad 3 by Dritty Better.
Just
extensions. Skip ad enabled.
It's enabled, as you can hear. It said it's enabled already.
Backup settings. PPK backup settle and accuses Gishuno Ingress Ruben and PP.
That's the way it works. There are a lot of actually cool extensions. There are extensions for sharing to Envision AI. If you have it, there are extensions for. So let's see what I have here. For extensions do I have?
Menu. List browsing. Read the whole screen. Voice assistant. Extensions. Skip ad 3. Share to Envision.ppk.
Yeah, this is the share to Envision one.
مجموع أدوات. Playstore.ppk.
This is the Play Store one. It updates, it checks for updates and just updates the whole thing.
Text recognition by Envision AI in certain applications.
Yeah, this is text recognition in certain applications. It just takes you to, directly to Envision AI after taking a screenshot. It's amazing.
Cancel button.
And those are the only extensions do I have.
Extensions.
So yeah, this is the way it works. If you definitely have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at contact us at blindandroidusers.com, and I'll be definitely really glad to answer any questions. I know CSR seems kind of difficult to learn at the beginning, but it's mainly pretty easy to learn after a certain amount of time. I hope you enjoyed this one, and see you next week. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do actually have any questions, do feel free to reach out to me or to the whole podcast at contact us at blindandroidusers.com. And I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Mariam, we thank you so much for taking your time to do this again. And we have it both on here and as well as on our YouTube channel. So if you're not listening to us here, you could find it on our YouTube channel. And if you are not a YouTube watcher or listener, you can still find it right here.
Yes, exactly. There's a whole playlist that's just for CSR on our YouTube channel. You can just go there and you'll find all the episodes that we've created so far. And also there are some episodes that are being pre-uploaded even before the podcast release on podcast clients.
Thank you so much, Mariam. And so now I'll demonstrate a little bit of Hendrik's Uno barcode reader. In our app of the week, I'm demonstrating an app by our guest, Hendrik Lubbe, and this app is called Uno Barcode Reader. The Uno is his dog, and this is named after his dog, so Uno is going to be helping me find my barcode. I have with me a bag of gummy bears, my favorite snack. That's it. So I'm going to be using that to see if I could scan the barcode. I do want to mention here that this is not yet on the Play Store. However, Hendrik has agreed to share the APK with anyone who's interested, and that APK URL will be available in our show notes for those of you that would like to sideload it onto their device and give it a try and then give him feedback. I would launch the app now and show you the layout of the app, and then we'll test it to see what happens thereafter.
Viewer, Team Viewer, and a barcode reader. And a barcode reader. Uno barcode reader.
When you launch the app, here are the items that we find in the UI.
Scan barcodes, QR code scan button.
The scan barcode.
Generate a new barcode for personal use. Save and print generate button.
You could generate a new barcode.
Product list showing all saved items. Manipulate options. Edit, delete, protect. Product list button.
This is where all the saved barcodes that you have captured will be saved.
User guide to explain how to use and licenses. User guide button.
That's a user guide. Very important that you use this or read this so you get familiar with it, with the app.
About the Unaccessibility Suite. Other apps in the suite. Contact details. About other apps button.
So that's the last one, and you can contact him that way, where you could send him email or you could even give him a call on WhatsApp or whatsoever. That's where you go about contacting him. Now I'll go back to the top of the screen or the top of the list and choose the one that we are talking about, and that's scanning a barcode.
Scan barcodes, QR code scan button.
I'm going to tap here. When you tap,
space, scan a code on the barcode reader.
I'm moving away from my mic so you may not.
Add item, barcode, 042238302518 barcode type, upca, on the barcode reader. Add item, barcode,
So
042238302518 barcode type, upca, on the barcode reader.
So it found the barcode and told me the number and all of that. Now, you could see that it did not tell me I have a gummy bears or whatever the case may be. And so now I need to add that. Since I know that this is gummy bears, I'm going to add it and name it gummy bears or whatever.
I save item to device save button.
So
search the web for the product with the barcode detected. Search web button.
You could search the web.
Cancel and go back to scanning screen. Cancel button.
Or you could cancel. So I'm going to tap on save.
Save item to device save button. On space. Resume button. On the barcode reader.
Okay.
Scan the code. Add item. Barcode. 112,433,66 barcode type. Ups. On the barcode reader. Item name. Edit box.
So here you type the name.
Showing in. P. Board. Setting. Search the voice input. Voice input. Search the web for the product with the
Haribo gummy bears.
Done.
So I saved it, but then I'm not seeing, it automatically probably just saved it. I'm going to go back.
Save item to device save button.
I've done that, so I'm going to go. I'm going to go back and see if I have it in my list of items now that I have saved it.
Product user guide to product list showing all saved item. Products list. Search the web for the product with.
Well, so that would be though what it is with this, because it's still in beta. So there are going to be instances that this thing may not work well, but as we could see, it allowed me to capture it and give me the numbers, and I could also have tapped on the search the web for it, or just give it a name since I know what it was, and it presented me with a place to type in the name. For some reason, when I did that, something happened and it didn't show up. But that is how you use the Uno barcode reader. And so if you want to give it a try and give Hendrik a feedback, then find that URL in our show notes and give it a try. Thank you. How about now we go back to our friend Hendrik to now give us a little bit of his Android journey story as we're nearing the closing of this episode.
Okay, now I started with the Symbian, but yeah, when I got the first Android phone, I can't even remember when that was. I was luckily still to get the Jelly Bean when that was still running. There was some, how would you put it, issues at that stage with the speech and some of the apps on it. And it did not have all of the features I wanted, but also Jelly Bean was very, very slow. So I currently have the Samsung S8. I still want to upgrade, but I'm also a Samsung one, even though they're very expensive. I hear I'm not sure how do you pronounce it, the Huawei or Huawei or that one. So I hear they're very good also. But nowadays I won't give my Android phone away for anything else, because the amount of apps, even though those days with Jelly Bean also, the amount of apps is much more free and much more available than any other operating system that I know of, if you look at Windows operated phones or iOS. So I just love my Android. And also Be My Eyes is now also like available for Android. I know before that it was Be Specular that you did with the photo. I found Google Goggles was better for me than Google Lens, my personal opinion. But yeah, no, my Android, I haven't tested out 12 or 11 yet, but I hear good things about it, so I hope it stays that way until I can get there.
That's great, Hendrik. It's always a journey, isn't it? We transition from one phone to the next and to the next and to the next. There's no end in sight. And with each new phone or whatever, the experience kind of becomes a little bit better and, better as we go along. So your experience sounds just the same like every other experiences that people have told us about. And so thank you for your little Android journey story there. And sounds like you are an Android enthusiast, just like me, not seeing yourself jumping onto something else. And so that's a welcome thing for me personally, being the evangelist.
You don't have to pay for all your apps. Even if you want to pay, you can pay. You got the free apps, you got the free options. A lot of the stuff is cloud-based, and unfortunately there is cost because some of the stuff is hosted in the cloud. But you also have the option of on-device that you can, with these days phones, you can run much more on your devices than in the past.
So there's a question before we, end this or something that I always ask people who actually talk about their Android journeys. There's a phone, in the middle of the whole Android thing that you thought that it was your favorite, no matter how many phones you use, no matter how, you just had a lot of phones, but you just remember this phone and think that, okay, it was my favorite because it had A and B and C. So throughout your whole Android journey, what was your favorite phone ever?
The Samsung S4 Mini. Just for some other reason, I love that phone. I still have it.
Oh, I know that phone. Yeah, a lot of people actually talked about it. I was like, yeah, it was. They said that it was an amazing phone. I've never tried it, but yeah, back in like 2015, I guess, or something, it's been there, and there were a lot of people who actually loved it from the bottom.
Its features was excellent for its time, that I must tell you.
Yeah, and I guess its price was good as well, for all the features that.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for that Android journey story. That's been wonderful. Now, if you guys have any closing remarks you want to say about this, then you could jump in and make those comments, or else we'll just have Mr. Pinto close out this episode.
Well, I just want to say thank you again for inviting me on here. It was great to hear about your Android journey, Hendrik, and all the work that you've been putting into. And just congratulations to the whole Blind Android Users team. You guys are doing a great job.
And Carrie, if people want to reach you, how do they reach you?
Sure. You can find me as Live Accessible on YouTube, as well as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Clubhouse, Telegram.
A social butterfly,
Yes. Or you can also email Carrie@liveaccessible.com.
Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Pinto, you want to close this baby up?
Yeah, I would like to close this, but before I close, I would like to tell our listeners that all the things discussed today, all the apps and the link to Carrie's channel and club and Instagram, Twitter, everything will be in the show notes. So please read that show notes, and that is very important for today's show. So if you have any questions, you can email us at contactus@blindandroidusers.com. To listen to this episode and all the previous episodes, you can visit our website, that is blindandroidusers.com. You can also go to YouTube and search for Blind Android Users. That is not one word, there is space between Blind Android and Users. And you will get all the podcasts, you will get short segments of each podcast, you will get some extra content and a lot of other things on the channel. You can join us on our mailing list. The email address to do that is blindandroidusers+subscribe@grooves.io. You can join us on Telegram, Clubhouse, and Twitter. The links will be in the show notes. And yeah, you can send us your My Android Journey story if you want to send us a pre-recorded story, or we would prefer that you come on live. But if for some reason you cannot and you want to send us your story, you could use the contact us at blindandroidusers.com email address. So that is it from the large team today, and I hope you have enjoyed this show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and see you next week.
Adios, amigos and amigas. That's my little Espanol there.
Great, Captain. See you next week, guys. And thank you for tuning in. And again, thanks to Carrie, Pete, and Hendrik for tuning in today and sharing lots of amazing, interesting things to us.
Pete and Hendrik, hello, last goodbye.
Thanks for having me on the show again. Great to be back, and you guys are doing such a great job, and I listen every week, and every week is different and improving, and you're doing great work. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and thanks for you guys for being there and making more Android information available, because there's some stuff I actually learned here today. And thank you.
And that has been another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. As always, we appreciate hearing from you. You send those email messages to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. For those My Android Journey stories, we encourage you to send those to myandroidjourney@blindandroidusers.com. Until we see you in our next episode, you have a wonderful day.